Hi, this is Steve from LZ23 Strength, where we strive to exert ourselves, we elevate our health, and we evolve in mind and body. Today, we're going to talk about leaving our kids something. Many people work hard their whole life and they have the whole idea to leave an inheritance behind for their children of a financial nature. Nowadays, there's all kinds of ideas regarding that. I think it's a good idea if you're able to, if it's in the power of your hand to do so. To leave something behind for your children. That's what I'm hoping to do. But today I'm talking about something that I feel is at least just as valuable, if not more valuable, when it comes to leaving our children something behind. And to help us appreciate what that is, I'm going to start with two sayings, and you've probably heard these before, but they're very powerful when you pause and give it a little thought. If you have your health, you have everything. I'm sure you've heard that before. And a second one, a similar one, a healthy person has 1,000 dreams, while a sick and unhealthy person only has one. So, what I want to focus on today is what we're leaving our kids behind in regard to health. And we're going to talk about a couple different stages of that, from a younger age to even a little bit older. But that's what we want to leave of value to our children, even as much as we might want to leave them money or financial assets. Just think if your kids grow up and you left them some money, but because of poor lifestyle habits, they were in pain or chronic pain or had a number of health issues, the money might come in handy to help with medical bills or certain aspects of life, but it really would ring hollow as compared to giving them a foundation for having a healthy life in their later years as they grow. So that's where we're going to focus our attention. You might have your ideas about it, but it's something that we've always felt that way. I'll give you one more saying. Benjamin Franklin, over 200 years ago, wrote, "Early to bed, early to rise, makes one healthy, wealthy, and wise." So health has been an issue for centuries. Everybody's always been striving to live longer. Might even recall some people way back trying to find the fountain of youth, trying to come up with elixirs to live forever. But people have always been concerned with health. And nowadays, we are still concerned. And as I talked in other videos, that health span, longevity, it's a big topic and probably $1 billion industry right now. And yet it seems like in general, many folks are unhealthy and suffering in a variety of ways. So we don't want our children to have to go through that, even as we're trying to work on ourselves. So let's talk about when our children are young. If you have young kids, this is the first stage, but we'll talk about even as they get older and maybe they're even out of the house. But research indicates that there's a strong link between parental activity levels and children's activities. And it's interesting that the research goes into how mothers' activities of being active and healthy affects their daughters mostly, and fathers have a strong impact on their sons. And in both cases, whether they play sports as they get into their teenage years, but even just general levels of activity and exercise shows that in the family, it's vital that the family do things together in a physical and active way. But with that in mind, notice what the CDC reports. The CDC reports that 46.9% of adults meet the recommended guidelines for aerobic physical activity. So that's less than half of adults that are physically active and meeting the guidelines. And usually the guidelines that are given in all aspects, whether it's dietary or here we're talking about exercise, it's not a super lofty high goal that they're setting. So the fact that they're not even reaching these recommendations, very sad. And even worse than that, it says while only 24.2% meet both aerobic and muscle strengthening guidelines. And remember that our strength, how important that is as we get older, that certainly we want to have strength. It's a sign of longevity. So that being the case, we got some work to do. And parents, particularly with our young ones, we want to set the example. And even as we talk about it with our kids, we want it to be something that not ever brought up in a negative way, and never going to try to guilt our children, but in an educational way through our example and through teaching can help them to see how good it is in life to have activity, to exercise, to eat properly, have good nutrition. All these things are going to have a powerful impact on our young ones. And again, we don't want to be negative. We don't want to always be talking about the scale and weight, or how difficult, how much we hate doing some of these things. We want to focus on it from a positive aspect, and it can be a crucial role in shaping how children grow up and how they feel about activity and exercise in a world that is becoming less and less active. The sedentary lifestyle, which has been compared to smoking, has really taken over the world, and adults and young people both. And primarily, one of the culprits is screen time, whether it's computers, television, and phones, and video games. All these things are robbing people of valuable time needed to pursue health, particularly when it comes to movement and exercise. But the report, here's another report from the American Heart Association. It says children with consistent habits are less likely to be obese, develop hypertension, and have better mental well-being. So I can't imagine any parent who does not want their children to be free of health situations, to have good health physically, mentally, emotionally. We've talked in recent videos how depression is one of the leading disabilities now in the United States, and young people are suffering from these things just as much as older individuals. So it's worth our effort to implement that for our kids. Now, just as I mentioned in other videos, I'm not a doctor or a psychologist or a scientist, but some of the reports, I just want to put that out there in an observation, how I feel. Let me know how you feel. I'd like to hear your thoughts and comments. And while you're doing that, please hit the like button and subscribe. But certainly, we want to have a powerful impact on our children. And along with the positive things that we're doing, something we want to be careful, and hopefully if you're watching this isn't applying to you, but there's still a lot of individuals in the world who have bad habits. I'm still amazed that there's still individuals who smoke. I've never really smoked, so I can't imagine how difficult, because I know when it comes to dietary things, it's hard to make changes, but smoking has long been considered one of the unhealthiest things that an individual can do. So hopefully that's not something that if we participate in that, certainly children might be apt to follow in mom and dad's footsteps in that area. But there's also other things, the abuse of drugs, the abuse of alcohol, these things are very prevalent in society today. And certainly that's not an example for our young ones to want to follow, because we know that it can lead to many premature health conditions and suffering, and even premature death for some is linked to that. So our idea here is to, at LZ23 Strength, is we want to live longer, we want to live stronger, and that applies to our kids as well. So we want to make sure that we're living a healthy lifestyle. That's the best thing that we can pass along to our children. If you want to pass along money, that's by all means do so. If it happens to be in the power of your hands to do so, I encourage you definitely want to do that as well. As I said, I'm hoping to do that, but health, a healthy legacy is also something that is so valuable. You can't put a price tag on it when raising kids and trying to help them for the future. And at this point, you might say, well, my kids are grown and out of their house or out of the house. They have kids of their own. Well, it's never too late to make the changes for ourselves and to impress upon our kids. Just heard a saying recently, and I've heard it many times before, and I'm sure you've heard it before, but it kind of reminded me, like, when's the best time to plant a tree? No, probably 20, 25, 30 years ago. When's the second best time? Right now. And the same thing with setting a healthy legacy for our kids. Well, if you didn't get to do it while they were children living at home, just because they're growing and out of the house, you could still set a powerful example and inspire and motivate them to do it themselves and to pass that on to their kids, your grandchildren. So it's never too late to make the changes, to start lifting weights, to start walking. Remember, movement means life. There's so many things that we can do in a physical way. Our kids will see that, even if they're not living with us, they'll see that we've made changes. And even when it comes to eating, we get together, families get together often to eat, go out to eat, have family dinners and on different occasions. Well, they see that we're really putting forth an effort. I can help them to look in the mirror and say, wow, I don't want to wait till I'm mom or dad's age to do that. I should start now. And I can make necessary changes as far as a lifestyle for exercising, movement, dietary considerations, and all aspects. Remember, the 4 pillars of health span involve our exercise, our activity, our movement. It involves our nutrition, what we eat, what we put into our bodies. It also involves sleep. That's a fascinating one because we're taught a lot of things in life, whether it's through school, through television or other means that might not be the greatest, through parental example, but most of us have never been taught how to sleep, what's appropriate sleep, why it's important. That's something that we can pass along. That's vital to our health span. And then relationships. One of the things that's concerning, and we might do a video on it in the future, is how many people are lonely. It's an epidemic level, and it's probably contributing to, as I mentioned before, depression that many people are feeling. But I heard a study, this is several months ago, about young men being particularly lonely. So relationships are also a vital part, and as parents, we can set an example in that area as well. So we've talked about just a few areas. I just thought I'd put that out there, and it's a little twist on what's often talked about when inheritances are discussed. It's usually of a financial nature, but a healthy legacy, healthy lifestyle. We can set the example. We can teach our children to do the same, and it's I believe probably one of the best things. There's obviously other areas of life. A spiritual life is vital for everybody, but here we're talking particularly when it comes to health span and longevity. So when I talk about importance, it's this corridor that we're focusing attention on as this channel gives to. But obviously there's other important areas in life, but in our discussion here, we're primarily focusing on that aspect. So I encourage you to think about these things. Remember, if we try to leave that healthy legacy, we will not only exert ourselves, elevate our health, evolve in our mind and body, but hopefully we can pass that on to our children and our grandchildren and others and truly live a healthy, happy, satisfying life. So again, please smash the like button. Please hit subscribe, and look forward to giving you more good content in the near future. Take care.